Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, in Nigeria we say everybody na thief, but na the person we then catch na barao. Also in Nigeria, the Yoruba people, of all of the peoples that make up that country, the Yoruba people are the most liberal and the most accommodating. The Yorubas are the most liberal and the most accommodating, and there is no gainsaying that. And anybody of any good conscience would agree that that is a fair statement to make, because the Yoruba people will allow anybody within their space so long as you are able to conduct yourself in a civilized manner. They will respect your culture, they will take you within them, they will introduce their culture to you, and they will treat you with fairness and equity, because fairness and equity is the cornerstone of the Yoruba culture. It's all predicated upon that Omo Oluabi thing that the Yorubas are particular about. Omo Oluabi, a civilized person, is what that means if you want to translate it into English. So it's all predicated upon that Omo Oluabi thing. But the one thing above all else that the Yoruba person would not abide is a bastardization. Omoale is what we call it in Yoruba land. The one thing that a Yoruba person would not abide is a bastard, and the biggest cause that or the biggest swear word that you can say to a Yoruba person is to call a Yoruba person a bastard, because the Yorubas are of the view that a bastard is the most dangerous person within a household, because he can turn against that household because he has nothing vested in it. So with that setting the tone, guys, I bring you this EFCC probe. Tinubu is on his own, Afenifere says. So Omoale is effectively what I'm hinting at, and I'm not even hinting at it. I am actually saying it. So an abject and categorical denial of this guy now by the Yorubas. This is a person that we have never really held as one of our own, because there's nothing, not one single thing that is straightforward about that Tinubu element, this Tinubu character. He says he went to Chicago University. There's no records of him actually going there. He's mired in all manners of subterfuge. He stayed there apparently. I'm not sure if he attended and they did not finish, or if he did not attend at all. He has a history of criminality, of course, in America as well. He tells you that he's from Lagos State, but he's in fact from Ogun State. And then of course he claims to be a Yoruba man, but he will quickly, and he has often thrown the Yorubas under the bus to serve his own personal interest. So an Omale, as I said, something that the Yorubas would never abide. As again, EFCC probe, Tinubu is on his own, Afenifere says. So now let's now see now what the Yoruba social political group, the foremost Yoruba social political group, has to say now about our in-house Omale. Pan-Yoruba Social Political Organization Afenifere said its major concern is to focus on the insecurity facing the southwest region and not the ongoing probe of the national leader of the All Progressive Congress APC, Bola Tinubu, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC. It had been reported that EFCC in November 2020 requested Mr. Tinubu's asset declaration documents from the Code of Conduct Bureau as part of an ongoing probe. Mr. Tinubu's investigation was led by the now chairman of the anti-graft agency, Abdulrasheed Bawa, whilst he was the head of Lagos Zonal Office. In the letter, the anti-graft agency referred to its previous letter of September the 4th, 2020, and CCB's response of October the 9th, 2020, asking the Bureau to supply outstanding requested information of Bola Ahmed Adekunle Tinubu. However, Afenifere's National Publicity Secretary, Yinka Odumakin, in a chat with a newspaper, asked the former governor of Lagos State to sort himself out with the EFCC on the grounds that he failed to defend the Yorubas in time of need. Mr. Odumakin reiterated that the probe has nothing to do with the group, as it was bent on protecting the Yoruba race against banditry. Let them sort out themselves. It has nothing to do with us in Afenifere. Let them fight their corruption the way they want and sort themselves out, he said, whilst stating that it is an internal politics and not an issue for us. We are fighting the killings and attacks on Yoruba people at the moment. That is what we have time for now. Our focus now is to end the serial attacks, banditry and raping of our women and other things that are going on. That is our concern at the moment, not any party or political leader, Mr. Odumakin said. When asked about a claim by the group's factional leader, Ayo Adebanjo, who said an attack on Mr. Tinubu generally affected the race, Mr. Odumaki maintained that Afenifere has not disowned the elder statesman. He said, "We do not disown our leader Pa Ayo Adebanjo for the statement he made at that time," adding that the circumstances were different from what obtains now. Our people are under serious siege, and anybody that cannot stand up for them in what they are going through cannot have Yoruba support at this time, the group's spokesman said. So that is the position of the Afenifere group. So once upon a time, Pa Adebanjo did show support for Tinubu, but then of course, as Tinubu continues to unfurl his color, then you know that Tinubu is not a Yoruba man, Tinubu is not an Igbo man, Tinubu is not from Lagos State, Tinubu is not from Ogun State, Tinubu is not an Hausa man, Tinubu is not even a Nigerian. Tinubu is just Tinubu, and that is the end of it. This is a guy that cannot see beyond the tip of his nose, and that is where his interest in life ends. So this is a guy that is not interested in anything outside of himself, which is fair enough, because there are people in life that are just naturally insular, if we're being polite, but selfish, really, if we're to give them the proper description. So there are people like that, but that is fair enough. But what is not fair enough is the way that this guy goes about pursuing his interests. This guy will still kill and savage and ravage. He will do absolutely everything and anything, even things that are beyond the realms of your imagination, this guy would do to continue to serve his own interest. Money and power, of course, the only two things that Tinubu is interested in, and we pursue to the bitter end these two things. And in pursuing to the bitter end these two things, this guy has effectively thrown the entirety of an ethnic grouping, even you can even describe them as a race, the Yoruba people, 60 odd million, if you count the diasporic Yorubas and include the Brazilians and the Latin American Yorubas, etc. The Yoruba numbers are close to 100 million if you add Togo and Benin. So this guy is willing to sacrifice all of these people for his own personal ambition. So now you may well be of the thought that he has to do this to get to that seat, and then when he gets to that seat, he will make good for the Yorubas. But there is nothing in the antecedents of Tinubu that suggests that he will make good for anybody, because this is a guy, ever since he has been a face in the public consciousness of the Nigerian space, this is a guy that's been known for one thing and one thing only: serving self-interest and self-interest only. So old dogs and new tricks is now what we're talking about now, and at the age of nearly 70, Tinubu is definitely not going to learn any new tricks. So now it is a real gamble, a Tinubu presidency, because Tinubu is one of those sort of like a Marmite, sort of like a people. You either detest him completely or you love him wholeheartedly. I'm sure there are people who are for him, and the people who are for him are telling us that he's so astute a political maneuverer and is so clever an individual that if he uses all of his talents to propel Nigeria, he can transform that country quite rapidly and quite sharply. So that is the one element. But the other element, which a lot of people also would present as a counter argument, is that this guy is so greedy and is so narcissistic that give him the entire world and he will only put it in his pocket and then go to the next planet to see what he can pillage there. So this is the sort of element that a lot of people see Tinubu as. But either way, the Yoruba people, by way and by voice of Afenifere, have said we have seen enough of this guy. And Omale is the pronouncement now that we're hearing from Afenifere, because there's no other reading other than to say that this is an Omale. Because if it was a proper son of the soil, as we say in Yoruba land, if he was a fully vested Yoruba person, the Yoruba people will gather around him, because the Yorubas, they protect their own jealously. So if the Yorubas are casting him adrift, then that is essentially calling him an Omoale. Conversations in the comment section. The Yoruba people are now telling Tinubu that you're on your own, but then of course when he gets to that seat of power, or if he gets to that seat of power, what price is there to pay is the question. Come share thought about all this with me in the comment section. But before you come into the comment section to engage, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, the Afenifere group has made their pronouncement on Bola Tinubu. Now what says you? So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.